like my Aunt Carol's monthly family brunch. Every first Sunday, like clockwork. Home-baked pies. Laughs that sound just a little too rehearsed. Half hugs and full-blown gossip. To anyone on the outside, it was tradition. To me, that morning, it was a stage. And I was done playing the fool. Liza, my wife, rode with me, acting sweet, holding my hand like we were still a team. Only difference? She had venom under her nails now. And I had finally stopped ignoring the signs. When we got to the house, Josh, my cousin, was already in the kitchen. Apron on, sleeves rolled, smug as ever. "Got something special for you, man," he said, handing me a coffee mug. "Fresh beans. My own mix." Liza chimed in from behind him, her voice a little too sugary. "He's been working on this one just for you." The moment I brought the mug up to my face, I knew. It didn't smell like coffee. It smelled like burnt metal and cleaning chemicals. And Josh? He was staring at me like he was waiting for a show to start. Liza, too. Not blinking. Not breathing. So I smiled. Nodded. Pretended to take a sip. Then, while everyone was distracted, I leaned forward to adjust my chair and swapped our mugs. Mine for his. Nobody noticed. Except Fate. Fate noticed. 5 minutes later, Josh dropped his fork. Then his napkin. Then, almost in slow motion, he clutched his stomach and let out a low guttural groan. Aunt Carol screamed. Liza jumped up like her seat caught fire. And me? I just sat there. Calm. Collected. Watching the show they wrote. Only now, someone forgot to tell Josh he was the test subject. He hit the floor hard. Sweating, shaking, mumbling something about wrong cup, and wasn't supposed to. His eyes found mine. I didn't flinch. Liza ran to him, voice high, fake concern spilling out like syrup. "Kyle, call someone. Do something." She looked at me like she still thought I was blind. I stood up slow. Looked at her. "Maybe the blend didn't agree with him," I said. Then walked past them both, straight into the hallway, phone in hand, still recording. Here's the thing about betrayal. It's never random. Josh wasn't just some idiot with a coffee hobby. He was my cousin. My best man at the wedding. And, as I would soon prove, Liza's other man for nearly a year. I wasn't just poisoned. I was played. But not anymore. The ambulance came fast. Josh left the brunch on a stretcher, barely conscious. And Liza? She stood there frozen, mascara perfect, alibi ruined. My hands didn't shake. Not because I wasn't angry, but because I was prepared. Because that mug? It wasn't the first trap. But it sure as hell was the last one I was gonna fall into. You don't see betrayal right away. It creeps in. Quiet. Patient. Like a slow poison. Funny, isn't it? Josh had always been family. We were born just 4 months apart. Grew up playing backyard football and arguing over who'd marry a girl like Jessica Alba. I mean, this guy was at my bachelor party. He toasted at my wedding. He hugged me the day I bought my first house. The same house I'd later find out he was sneaking into behind my back. Liza and I had been married 3 years. And the crack started small. A few missed calls. New passwords on her phone. She was just tired more often. Less interested in anything that had to do with me. But every time I brought it up, she'd smile, pat my arm, say I was being dramatic. It started to shift one night when I found a receipt in her purse. It was for a hotel downtown. A boutique place. Pricey. Dated a Thursday, the same day she told me she had a team building seminar. I didn't say anything at first. Just started watching. Not obsessing. Just tracking patterns. And the more I looked, the more things made sense. Her girl nights almost always lined up with Josh's. Late shifts. She got a new perfume, something floral and heavy. And then one night, she came home with a small red mark on her neck she swore was a curling iron burn. She didn't even own a curling iron. The next piece fell into place when I synced her iCloud to an old tablet. Yes, I know how that sounds. But when you're being lied to, you start thinking like a detective. There were dozens of deleted messages, but some were still in her archive folder. She called him J. He called her L, babe. And what they talked about. Let's just say, it wasn't board games. But the worst part? It wasn't the flirting. Or the plans to meet. It was the strategy. Screenshots of my emails. Notes on my product pitch at work. Tips on what to say to my boss. Help him slip, Josh had written in one message. Once the patent's clear, we move. He's too slow to see it coming. Too slow? Right. That's when I started saving everything. Every screenshot. Every call log. I backed up her messages, her browser history, her GPS pings. She'd been leaking my work secrets to Josh, who was trying to get ahead at his own tech firm, and they were circling the same product I'd been developing for the past 18 months. Liza was the mole. Josh was the thief. And me? I was the idiot in the middle, until I wasn't. I hired a PI just to be sure. Took him 2 weeks to get the photos. Liza, slipping into a downtown hotel, Josh holding the door. The worst part? They looked happy. Like a couple. Like we never mattered. But I wasn't about to yell. Or break things. I didn't even confront them. Because if someone tries to poison your coffee, you don't spill it. You take notes. And start boiling your own pot. I didn't scream. Didn't call Liza a cheater. Didn't show up at Josh's office with fists flying. Nope. I went quiet. Because see, I knew I only had one shot at this. And if I was going to blow it all up, I wanted it to count. First thing I did? Lawyer up. Found a guy named Thompson. Old school, straight shooter, and a total bulldog with contracts. I handed him everything, emails, photos, texts. He raised an eyebrow when I showed him the part about the patent. You telling me your wife and cousin were feeding your research to a competitor? Looks like it. He nodded, scribbled notes, then asked the million-dollar question. Can you prove your algorithm was built on your own time? I smiled and dropped a hard drive on his desk. Logs, timestamps, version histories, all done on my personal rig off the company clock. I may not be flashy, but I cover my tracks. Thompson leaned back impressed. Then we have something better than revenge. We have leverage. While he built the legal wall, I moved on to phase 2, the job offer. There was this mid-sized tech firm, Lexera Solutions. Smart people, good funding, but no core product to punch through. I'd met their CTO once at a conference. We got to talking. I hinted I might be looking to make a move. 2 meetings later, I showed him my improved prototype. His eyes practically fell out of his head. Who owns this? He asked. I do, I said. Patents pending. All clean. By the end of the week, I had an offer in writing. CTO position. Equity. And an exclusive licensing agreement on my algorithm. I didn't just walk away from my old job. I leveled up. Meanwhile, back at home, Liza kept playing the sweet wife. She'd ask if I wanted tea, offer back rubs, even baked a damn pie one night, like we were living in a Norman Rockwell painting. But I saw the signs. The nervous eyes. The way her phone never left her side. The sudden interest in quality time. She knew something was off. She just didn't know I already had everything. Josh kept texting her, I had the sink still running. They were planning a little nudge, as he put it. Something about making sure I was too sick to present at a major strategy meeting. A bad flu, he called it. Said he had something that works fast but won't trace. Charming, huh? That's when I knew. They weren't just lying. They were planning to take me out of the game. Career-wise, or worse. The next week, Aunt Carol announced she'd be hosting Sunday lunch. Family only. Big roast. Josh would be there. So would Liza. Perfect. I acted like nothing was wrong. Showed up with a bottle of wine. Gave hugs. Laughed at Uncle Barry's bad jokes. And when Liza handed me a mug of coffee with a weird smile, I thanked her. Took a sip. Then excused myself to take a call. Switched my cup with Josh's. Left mine steaming right where his had been. 5 minutes later, he was on the floor, convulsing. And I just stood there, holding my phone, already recording. Because no one poisons me and gets to walk away. This was war. And I'd already won the first battle. Josh hit the floor like a sack of wet cement. His eyes rolled back. Hands twitching. Foam started at the corner of his mouth. Panic exploded in the room. Liza screamed. Aunt Carol dropped the gravy boat. Everyone rushed over, but I stayed right where I was. I just watched. Because I'd already seen enough. Paramedics came fast. Josh was barely conscious when they wheeled him out. Something about neurological symptoms. Possible toxins. The EMT muttered it like it was a guess. But I already knew the answer. After they left, Liza was shaking. Eyes red. She clung to me like I was her life raft. I held her. Calm. Still. Like a husband who had no clue his wife just tried to murder him. That night, I stayed quiet again. Let her pretend it was all just an accident. Let her pace the kitchen. Let her whisper into her phone when she thought I wasn't listening. She thought I was asleep on the couch. I wasn't. I was listening. The next morning, I went back into the digital rabbit hole. I pulled up backups of their chats. And this time, I read everything. Turns out Josh and Liza had been messing around for over 2 years. Started as just drinks. Turned into hotel meetups during my business trips. By year 2, they were in deep, emotionally, physically, logistically. She called him my real partner. He called her Mrs. Morgan to be. Disgusting. But what really got me? The way they talked about me. Clueless Kyle. He's so easy to fool. And my personal favorite? After the promotion, he'll be disposable anyway. They were feeding my work, my code, my ideas, my vision, to a third-party company. The same firm my boss was secretly trying to acquire. Josh's employer. Liza sent PDFs of my prototype deck. Took pictures of white bards while I was in the shower. Even forwarded emails directly from my private inbox. And all the while, Josh promised her the dream. Big money. A position. Maybe even a house in Miami once. Todd was out of the way. I don't know what snapped in me. Maybe it was the phrase, out of the way. Maybe it was the thought that I almost drank the cup. But that was the moment I decided. No more waiting. No more collecting. It was time to move. I sent everything to my lawyer. Thompson was already building the case. Not just for attempted murder, but for corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, and a few more charges I hadn't even heard of before. Then I called the police. Showed them the video. The messages. The draft emails where they joked about dosages. An officer looked up from the screen and just said, "Sir, are you telling me they tried to poison you during brunch?" "Yup," I said. "Family tradition, I guess." Within 24 hours, detectives visited Josh at the hospital. took his statement, then took his phone. They found everything. The logs, the plans, the stash of chemicals in his apartment, tucked behind protein powder and tax documents. Liza was arrested 2 days later. She sobbed when they cuffed her, asked me to help her, said, "Kyle, please. You don't understand." No, Liza. I understand perfectly. You were done with me, but I wasn't done with you. The weirdest thing about betrayal? It's not the moment it happens. It's everything that follows. The silences, the polite distance, the looks you get from people who don't know what to say, because honestly, what do you say to a man whose wife and cousin just tried to kill him with brunch? Liza and Josh were both in custody now. Josh had lawyered up fast, but not smart. The guy they found was some TV ad attorney who handled DUIs and family wills. Apparently not the ideal pick for attempted murder and corporate sabotage. Liza, she tried to play the victim. Claimed she had no idea what Josh had put in the coffee. Said he must have gone rogue. Said she never meant to hurt me. I sat there, listening to her statement, knowing full well that she had been the one who texted Josh the dosage chart. Meanwhile, my lawyer Thompson, he was building a case like a cathedral. He had text logs, voice memos from their late-night calls, a timeline of every single coincidental illness I'd had over the past year, surveillance footage from the lobby of that hotel they thought I'd never find out about, forensic reports showing that the compound in the coffee didn't just make people sick. It could have killed me in under an hour. And the kicker? He had a full digital trail linking Liza's insider leaks to the company Josh was working for. They tried to undercut my tech pitch, using my own algorithm. It was textbook theft, plus attempted murder for dessert. The DA was on board by now. Serious felony charges. Multiple counts for both of them. But what they really wanted was motive. That's where I came in. I sat with Thompson and the assistant DA for 2 hours. Told them everything. From the first time I felt off after a family dinner to the day I accidentally found Liza's second phone. I showed them the PDF of a note Liza had written to Josh on her notes app. It read, "One more client file from Kyle, and we're set. After the rollout, I'm gone. He'll never see it coming." They asked if I wanted to press full charges. I said, "I want them to know what it feels like when everything you build gets ripped out from under you." So yeah, full charges. Josh cracked first. Of course he did. Within 2 weeks, he offered a partial confession, said Liza was manipulating him, that she made him believe I was a toxic husband, and that she was in danger. Except for one thing. The recordings show him laughing about the plan, joking that I'd be down for the count, just long enough to miss my product pitch. That's not a man protecting a woman. That's a man protecting his bonus. Liza, she held on longer. Didn't break. Didn't talk. She even tried sending me a letter through her lawyer, some handwritten apology, where she said she just wanted a way out. Said she never had the courage to divorce me. I sent it back unopened, with a sticky note that read, "Next time, just leave. Murder's a bit much." Trial was set for spring. They'd be tried together, DA's idea. Apparently juries respond better when they see the conspiracy for what it is, a team effort. And believe me, they were a team. Lovers, liars, co-conspirators, and soon, cellmates. If you've never watched someone lie about trying to kill you, with a full courtroom staring at them, let me tell you, it's a strange kind of therapy. They sat side by side. Liza in a charcoal suit, trying to look like the grieving housewife. Josh in a borrowed jacket, all wrinkled confidence and zero remorse. Funny thing was, their whole defense rested on denial. We didn't mean for it to go that far. It was just a joke. It wasn't real poison. She didn't even drink it. Yeah. Because I switched the cups, genius. The prosecution opened with a bang. They rolled out a full digital timeline, from their first flirty emails to the last late-night texts before the poisoning. The jury? They didn't blink. They leaned in. Especially when the DA played that audio file, the one where Liza said, "Kyle's so distracted lately, he won't even taste the difference. After this weekend, it's done." Then came the photos. Of them at the cottage. Of Liza kissing Josh, my cousin, while wearing the bracelet I gave her for our anniversary. Let me tell you something. There's pain. And then there's watching your wife whisper love notes into your cousin's ear in high def under courtroom lighting. Josh's lawyer tried to pivot. Said it was revenge porn of the soul. Said they were emotionally overwhelmed and acting out of desperation. But then the toxicology report hit the screen. Compound identified, chloral hydrate. Dose, high enough to immobilize an adult in 10 minutes. Side effects, vomiting, loss of consciousness, cardiac risk. Intent, crystal clear. Then it was my turn. I stood up, adjusted my tie, and for the first time, looked them both in the eye. I loved my wife, I told the jury. And I trusted my cousin. We grew up together. He was in my wedding. He toasted to our unbreakable bond. And while I was building a future, they were planning my funeral. I pointed at the table where their evidence sat. The printed texts. The pill bottles. My own medical records. You don't end up in urgent care 3 times in 1 year because your stomach is sensitive. You end up there because someone is slowly taking pieces of you, hoping you'll break before they get caught. Silence. Just the sound of chairs creaking as people shifted, uncomfortable. And maybe that's good. Truth should make people uncomfortable. Liza didn't look up. Josh just stared ahead, jaw tight. I wanted to feel something. But all I felt was done. 3 more witnesses came after me, including the doctor who confirmed the dose in my cup was nearly fatal. The DA closed with one simple statement. This wasn't just a crime of passion. It was a blueprint. A project. And Kyle Morgan was their target. The jury went out for deliberation. They came back in 4 hours. Guilty. On all counts. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Fraud. The judge didn't waste time. Josh got 18 years. Liza got 17. Both with no parole for the first 12. I watched them as the bailiff cuffed their wrists. She finally looked at me then. Just for a second. And I swear, she thought I'd cry. But I didn't. I smiled. Just enough to say, you picked the wrong man to break. You know what no one tells you. After the trial, after the gavel drops and they're led away in cuffs, life doesn't just snap back to normal. It wobbles for a while. Kind of like a house that stood through a storm. Yeah, it's still there. But you hear it creak differently in the quiet. The media got wind of the case within 24 hours. Wife and cousin found guilty in attempted poisoning of Nashville tech exec. Catchy. Short. Very clickable. They used my mugshot from a business journal. Liza's from her college alumni page. Josh looked like he hadn't showered in 3 days. Fitting. But the real hit? It wasn't on TV. It was in my inbox. Dozens of emails. From colleagues. From clients. From people I hadn't spoken to in years. Kyle, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Man, what the hell? Are you okay? She always seemed a little off. But this? Jesus. Some wrote like they were signing a guest book at a funeral. Some just sent red heart, which, let's be honest, I didn't know how to respond to. My boss, the new one, not Josh, called me personally. "Take time," he said. "As much as you need. We've got your back." I didn't cry, but I did have to put the phone down and stare at the ceiling for a good 20 minutes. People underestimate what that kind of grace does to a person. Then came the letters from prison. Yeah, plural. Josh sent one first, rambling nonsense about how it all spiraled and how he missed our childhood summers. I shredded it, not out of anger, out of boredom. Liza's arrived a week later. It was 3 pages long. Said she wasn't in her right mind, that she never planned to actually hurt me, and that she still loved me somewhere deep down. I folded the letter back into its envelope, tossed it into the fireplace, watched it curl and blacken, one line at a time. I didn't need her apologies, but the one person I did reach out to, Josh's mom, my aunt, she was the one who used to send us both care packages when we were kids, the one who taught me how to make peach cobbler. When I called, she answered with a quiet, "Hello?" I said, "It's me." And for a few seconds, we just breathed into the silence together. Then she said, "I'm so sorry, Kyle. I didn't raise him for this." I told her I knew that. She cried. I didn't stop her, because sometimes the people who didn't commit the crime end up carrying the most guilt. What about my house? Sold it. Too many memories soaked into the walls. I moved across town. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Clean slate. Clean floorboards. Clean coffee pot. And therapy? Yeah. I go now. Once a week. Because healing isn't just waking up and deciding to be fine. It's showing up when you're not. Some nights, I still wake up with the smell of that coffee in my nose. It's not trauma. It's memory, reminding me how close I came to being a headline, not a survivor. But every time I do, I just walk to the window, take a breath, remind myself of one thing. They thought I'd fall apart. Instead, I'm still standing. And they're not going anywhere for a long, long time. When the verdict hit the news, I figured that would be the end of it. But life and karma had other plans. See, courtrooms might deal with justice. But reputations? They get torn apart in cafeterias, inboxes, and quiet HR meetings. Let's start with Josh. His old firm? The marketing agency where he strutted around like some budget Don Draper? Gone. The moment his mug showed up on the local channel, they scrubbed him from their leadership page so fast, you'd think he never existed. Turns out, trying to kill your cousin isn't great for brand synergy. And clients? They walked, one by one. Liza, though, her fall was different. Slower. Meaner. She worked in public relations, ironic, right? And you'd think someone in her field would have known better than to leave a digital trail of betrayal and murder for convenience. But pride makes people sloppy. I didn't leak the story. Didn't have to. The prosecution's press release was enough. But I did get a message from someone I hadn't expected. Her boss. He wrote, "Kyle, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. We didn't know. She always spoke highly of you. I wish we'd looked closer." I read it twice. Not for the apology, but for that last line. I wish we'd looked closer. Man, if that ain't a whole damn theme for this chapter of my life. Within 2 weeks, Liza's company cut ties. They used the classic, "pending internal investigation" line first, but once screenshots of her messages with Josh hit Reddit. That investigation wrapped up quick. Reddit? Right. I didn't even know someone had posted about the trial until a friend texted me. Bro, you're trending on r/true crime. I didn't click at first, but curiosity got me. Someone had transcribed part of the courtroom exchange, complete with commentary, diagrams, and a meme of Josh labeled, "Discount Machiavelli." Normally, I'd hate seeing my life turned into content. But reading through those comments, strangers furious on my behalf, felt weirdly comforting. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't alone. People saw it. All of it. Then came the fallout in our circle. Friends chose sides. Well, most didn't have to choose. They saw the facts. But a few clung to Liza's version. She just lost herself. Josh manipulated her. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I didn't argue. Let them believe whatever helped them sleep. Me? I sleep just fine. But the real twist? Her parents. They reached out. Invited me to dinner. Said they wanted to apologize in person. At first, I said no. But then I realized they'd lost a daughter in a way. And I'd lost a life. So I went. They didn't make excuses. Didn't ask for sympathy. They just said, "We raised her better. We're sorry." And you know what? That meant something. Funny thing is, when people fall, they think they can land quietly. But betrayal echoes. Through boardrooms, through group chats, through families. And when the mask comes off, you don't get to put it back on. Not when the whole world saw what was underneath. She thought I'd suffer in silence. But silence has a way of turning into thunder when the truth finally speaks. It started with a letter. Folded, handwritten, in the kind of cursive she only used for holidays and passive-aggressive thank you cards. Postmarked from the detention center. Lined paper. Neat margins. Perfume. The same one she used to wear when she wanted something. Yeah, that one. I didn't open it right away. Just left it on the counter, under a coaster like it might stain the wood. But it stayed in my periphery. Like a bruise I couldn't ignore. A week later, it happened again. This time it wasn't a letter. It was a call. Block number. Jail voicemail. Liza's voice, small and soft, the exact opposite of what she'd been in court. "Kyle, I'm so sorry. I know I can't fix what I did, but I just want to talk. Just once. Please. You don't have to forgive me. I need you to understand. Josh, he said things, promised things. I didn't mean for it to go that far." And there it was. The script. I could almost see her rehearsing it in the mirror of her cell, practicing that balance of regret and helplessness. But what really got me? The moment she blamed Josh. She threw him under the bus with the same ease she used to blame me for leaving dishes in the sink. Like none of this had been her choice. And then the third one came. An email this time, sent through her attorney. Polite. Professional. Pathetic. "My client wishes to express deep remorse and is hoping Mr. Morgan would consider a mediated conversation for closure and understanding." Closure. Understanding. What part of attempted murder needs clarification? I sat down with my lawyer. Told him exactly what to reply with. And he sent it, word for word. "Please contact legal. Mr. Morgan does not handle traitors personally." After that, the messages stopped. Mostly. But I knew better than to believe silence meant peace. The thing is, guilt doesn't evaporate. It festers. And sometimes, people like Liza, they don't want forgiveness. They want to be told it wasn't all their fault. They want a clean ending so they can sleep again. But I wasn't giving her that. You don't poison someone and then ask them to help carry your shame. Funny part? Josh tried too. From prison, he sent a typed note through his defense team, as if formatting made it more sincere. He wrote, I know I betrayed family. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wish I could take it back. I miss the old days, man. We were tight. You were like a brother. You were like a brother? That's rich coming from the guy who put sedatives in my coffee and slept with my wife under my roof. I didn't write back. Didn't rage. Didn't even bother to feel disgusted anymore. You hit a point where anger burns out, and all that's left is cold distance. And peace. The world kept turning. My job? Better than ever. My name? Still clean. My health? Finally stable. And as for them? One more year until sentencing. 2 names on a docket, side by side, in a case study about what happens when people think loyalty is optional. They asked for mercy. But they didn't offer it when I was on the floor, sweating, shaking, thinking I had a virus while they watched me suffer with a glass of wine. No. They wanted out. I wanted truth. And the truth? It doesn't write apology letters. It signs restraining orders. The new office smelled like fresh paint and ambition. Corner window. Clean lines. A quiet hum of machines downstairs in the lab, where my team was already knee-deep in next-gen testing. On the door? A brushed steel nameplate that still didn't feel real. Kyle Morgan. Chief Technology Officer. No more. Senior Associate. No more. Reporting to. No more biting my tongue in meetings so someone else could take the credit. It was mine. All of it. Earned. And this time, nobody was going to steal it. I remember the first morning I walked in. The receptionist greeted me like I was somebody. The engineers stood when I entered the room. One of them even said, "Glad you're here. We've heard stories." I smiled, the real kind. The kind I hadn't worn in years. I didn't tell them everything. Not about Liza. Not about Josh. Not about the hell that led me here. But I did tell them one thing. I don't care how junior you are, if your idea's good, it gets heard. No gatekeeping. No politics. We build this together. They clapped. Someone brought donuts. It was the first time in a long time I felt like a leader, not just a survivor. Every once in a while, I'd catch my reflection in the glass. 44. A few more lines around the eyes. But something stronger behind them. That edge that only comes after you've lost everything and built it back with your bare hands. I still get calls from people who used to work with me at the old firm. The ones who said nothing when I was pushed out. Now they say, "Man, you were right. That place is falling apart." They want advice. Sometimes they want jobs. Funny how tables turn. And Liza? She's a footnote now. Last I heard, she was trying to appeal the sentence, claiming diminished responsibility, blaming Josh, blaming pressure, blaming everyone but the one person who chose to stir the cup. Her lawyer even tried to reach out again. One last attempt at resolution. My response? Tell her I already resolved everything. In court. But you know what gets me the most? It's not the betrayal. Not the months of illness. Not even the fact that I was nearly killed by people I trusted most. It's the memory of her face, that day at brunch, when Josh dropped the cup and hit the floor. She didn't scream. Didn't even rush to help. She just stared at me. Like she realized, for the first time, I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I still think about that. Not because I miss her, but because that was the moment I knew. She'd expected me to crumble. To lose my job, my mind, maybe even my life. She'd bet on my silence. Instead, I'd built a company. I filed the patents. I hired the best damn team in the city. I took everything they tried to bury me with and turned it into foundation. Now, when people shake my hand, they say things like visionary and revolutionary. I smile. Politely. Let them talk. Because I know the truth. I'm not a genius. I'm just a man who decided he wasn't gonna be anybody's victim. Not anymore. As I lock up the office that night, I pause. Look back at that nameplate one more time. Kyle Morgan. CDO. I whisper to myself. You made it, man. And nobody's taking this from you. Then I head home. My real life? It's just getting started.